I'm Enzo.
And I'm Reyna.
And this is the Date Night Horror Show European Edition. So, Reyna, do you want to tell our listeners where we are right now?
Yes, so we are on vacation in Prague, Czech Republic.
Yeah. And this is the second leg of a European, I was going to say tour. European
Vacation.
European vacation. We started in Berlin, Germany. And the second week we are in Prague. And this is our last day.
Boo.
This is our last day in Prague. I have to
amazing.
say, yeah, it's been incredible. And throughout the course of our trip, we've also managed to squeeze in some horror-related things.
Yes.
And I think we can use this experience and this setting to kind of talk about our favorite European themed or produced horror films. That means they can either be made in a European country or have the European country as the setting. That's kind of the idea. So I figured we could start. We could do that, but first I think we should talk about the trip as it relates to the horror things that we've seen. And maybe Europe in general.
Yes.
Europe's history with horror and all that. So, where do you want to start?
Did you want to start with the Bone Church?
Yeah. So, a couple days ago, we went to this neighboring city of Prague, which is called Kutna, Hora. And near there is a church that is decorated with the bones of victims of the Black Plague and other such things.
And war.
Yeah. And yeah, that was a really interesting place.
So it's about an hour outside of Prague in this really cute, very small town.
Yeah.
But, Prague is just amazing. The Czech Republic in general, what we saw, Prague in this little town, because it's all cobblestone streets in this little town, and it's, very small, narrow streets, very low traffic, really cute.
Yeah.
And in the middle of all of it is this church, Roman Catholic Church.
How do you say the name, the official name?
I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, but it's Sedlec Ossuary. I'm not sure if that's correct.
So it's probably like Sedlec Ossuary or something.
Something.
It sounds kind of Swedish, actually.
Yeah, that was not. But it's the Bone Church.
Yeah, and it's really, what's really interesting about it is that, we were drawn to it because, you see pictures of it online, and I had seen some videos of it online, and I thought, wow, that's such an eerie place. We got to go see that, and we got to make that part of our podcast.
Yeah.
And when you actually go there, again, it's a very sacred place, so they ask you not to speak when you go inside.
Right.
And it's a very eerie place.
It is. It's very small. Like it's a very small space. But right when you walk in, the frame of the archway has bones.
Hundreds of bones.
And has like chandeliers made of bone.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, and it's just...
what I think is really interesting is that a couple of people on our tour, one of the guys was like, wow, this is a really bad idea. I can't believe they decided to decorate a church with human skulls. And yeah, I get that because it does come off very creepy.
Yeah.
Like serial killery. But these people died in nameless graves, like these mass graves. So I think the intentions were very, very good. I think the intentions were, let's give these people a grave worthy of them. Let's have them with us. It's but it's still really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What it reminded me of was, especially the ceiling. It reminded me of, the scene in Jeepers Creepers. with all the bodies, like he's got
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like it's not like you don't have full skeleton bodies there, but it's it's just very gruesome. Like to see a bunch of real skulls, I couldn't help but look at each skull and go, I wonder who this person was. I wonder what their story was,
Or how they died.
how they died. And then when these bodies were put in these mass graves, they used lye. And so they're perfectly preserved. Like they're perfect skulls. So
They even look polished. And
yeah, it almost looks like a movie prop. But when you realize and you take in the fact that it's not, it's really interesting. On Instagram, we're gonna make sure to share photos of the Bone Church, because I think if you haven't seen them, they're really they're really fascinating. And then there was this big surplus. Did you notice those big piles they had of surplus skulls?
Yeah, but was it surplus skulls or was it like a sculpture?
I sort of feel, I mean, maybe this is my interpretation, but sort of feel like it's kind of, they're doing more with it, maybe, or they wanted to take all the people in those mass graves and put them in the church. They didn't want to leave anyone behind, That's just my guess, but yeah, it was a very interesting thing to go to. And if any of you guys are traveling to Prague or the Czech Republic in general, I highly recommend going there, because it was a really, really interesting attraction. Or I don't want to say attraction, but a landmark. Attraction is like is more like a Disney thing. So
No, but I mean it is. And then it also has a cemetery next to it.
Yeah.
Where people, I guess, still bury their family.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it was creepy, but I didn't get like a creepy vibe or anything. Like I didn't get.
Yeah, no, it's not like a haunted thing.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like that. It's more somber. Like it's a very somber thing
Yeah, very somber.
to see. It's sort of like when we were in Berlin last week, and you go to the wall.
Yeah.
And we were at the wall, and then we went to the Wall Museum near Checkpoint Charlie. And there's this great museum there that kind of tells you all the different stories of the people that would smuggle loved ones across, the people that were killed, because they were caught.
Pretty crazy.
Like it is pretty heavy.
It's very heavy.
I think that's what's so interesting about a lot of European cities. They have a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
I thought that was in a similar way. Like like when you go, there's another monument called the Holocaust Memorial, and that is like this large sculpture, and it almost looks like a large graveyard. You can see pictures of it online. We'll share some as well. That also has a very somber, serious,
very
heavy feeling to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's really important that those monuments remain. To kind of remind us of what's been, that history is pretty.
That's
intense.
what's cool about going to European countries, is they really preserve their history.
You know what really blew me away about Berlin specifically was, if you go to the areas that used to be East Berlin, the socialists, the Soviet art is still up. They didn't take it down. And I think that is so interesting, because you would think that, Germany would have this, really bad taste in their mouth for what happened there. But they left the art up. So, they're sort of not embarrassed of their history,
Right. Well, it's part of their history.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever go to Prague, definitely visit the Bone Church. It was cool. We went on a tour, and the tour was really cool. They take you there, and they have lunch, and the tour guide was really knowledgeable about all the history and telling us.
Yeah, I have to say, this entire time in Prague, I have not had a single bad beer. Like the beer is super fresh, really, really good, really, really cheap. The food's very hearty. They do a lot of pork.
Oh, so good.
Oh
So
man,
good.
super good.
So
Super,
good.
super good. I kind of preferred the Czech beer over the German beer, and the German beer was very, very good as well. But the Czech beer, we were on a tour and they were telling us that the Czech people drink more beer than any other country, and even they beat even Germany by a long shot. And I think that's why the beer never tastes stale. Like it's so fresh. The demand for it, it's like this cycle. Of, oh yeah, we have to keep making beer because so everyone wants to drink it. And yeah, if you're a beer fan, oh my god,
And it's cheap.
yeah, it's super super cheap. And yeah,
It was it was an awesome experience.
yeah, definitely. So another thing that we did that's very horror related. We went to the Museum of Torture, which is really close. It's actually part of Old Town Square in central Prague. And what did you think of that? What were your thoughts on that?
It was creepy. There you got kind of like chills, like
Yeah.
hair at the back of your head standing up because it was just weird.
What's really interesting is that the architecture in all that area is old architecture.
Yeah.
And they have tunnel networks right under the...
So yeah,
yeah.
when you walk in there, it looks like a storefront, right? So you go in there and you pay, and then you go down these stairs into like these caves. That's what's creepy. It's creepy.
Yeah, I could tell I could sense your apprehension.
Yeah, I went
when we
down very
started-
slowly.
'Cause
I
it's
was like, what the?
It's not lit very well. And it's kind of abandoned down there. So it feels like a catacomb.
Yeah, it did.
And then, of course, all the displays and the torture devices are very, very creepy.
Horrible.
Yeah, and then there's there's stories about each device and what it was used for, and it's just nightmarish. It's like something out of Hellraiser.
Yeah. And then they have like mannequins and
Yeah, and a lot of some of the mannequins looked very real.
yeah, they did. It was just I don't know. That was pretty creepy. That was creepier than the Bone Church.
Yeah, but it was intentionally creepy, but again, it had the foundation of realism. I remember there was one particular display that really disturbed me.
Which one?
It was those metal masks.
Oh yeah.
So like at a distance, I was like, "Oh, cool! These are really cool metal masks, right?" Like it looks like something out of I don't know, like Man in the Iron Mask. But then they had like metal horns, so they kind of look devilish. And then when you read it, they would use this on women who were accused of adultery, and they would humiliate them. It was really, really heavy, like to hear the history of the masks. So like at a distance, I thought the masks were cool, and then I got closer, and then I read the backstory of them, and then I was really creeped out by them.
All of them were really creepy. I mean, there was the masks, and then there was like some phallic-looking things that they tortured people with, and
Chastity belts.
And spikes, and like
it was really creepy.
Handcuffs, but not the like you see in the movies where you put your head and your arms through
the vices.
The vices.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the name.
And the stocks. I think they're called stocks as well.
And a guilleton. There was a guillotine at the end. Remember?
Yeah.
You ran out of that.
Yeah, that whole area creeped me out so much. Like, I felt like we were in a horror movie. Like
It was weird.
Like someone was gonna come through a back door.
Yeah.
There was also a life-size statue of an executioner. With
Oh
the hood.
yeah, that's right. That was.
I swear
creepy.
he was gonna start moving. Because proportionally he was perfect. He looked like a real person.
He did.
And
You didn't even want to take a picture?
yeah, I think I got one.
You did. You did.
He was in this dark corner.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Like barely lit. And so when you walk, you turn the corner and you see him, you're like, oh, is this guy gonna come after me?
That would have been cool if it did.
It was super eerie. It was super, super eerie.
That would have been really cool if it like moved.
Yeah.
It was on a motion sensor or something.
Yeah. I thought it was, they did a really good job of making it creepy, but historical at the same time.
Yeah.
Not cheesy, you know?
No, it wasn't cheesy. No, because all the explanations and stuff were pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the setting, again, there are these catacomb tunnels under every building in Old Town. So like after we went to Museum of Torture, there was another area where we had dinner a couple nights before, and we went there and we noticed that their tunnels they used to make kind of like almost like a pirate's den bar.
Yeah.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
And and they even restricted photographs. So I took photographs outside of it, but I couldn't take photographs inside of it. And you just realize that these tunnels are all over.
Yeah. Well, the medieval dinner was like
the medieval dinner, yeah.
Too. That was cool.
Yeah. So another thing we did is we went to this kind of traditional medieval dinner. I know it sounds cheeseball, but
it was. I really thought it was
really
going
cool.
to be, and it wasn't.
Yeah. It was really cool. One, it was open bar. So the beer kept flowing. And I remember...
And the wine.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, okay, we're going to sit down and they're probably going to give us one beer and then it's going to be hard to get more beer. Nope.
She would just come put them on the table.
Yeah. They would, I mean, the beer was overflowing. Like it was great.
Yeah.
And then...
And the food was good.
And then they had a live... band playing medieval music, and they were very, very good.
Yeah,
like they sounded great.
And belly dancers,
and then belly dancers that they weren't really doing like a belly dancing thing. They were doing more like a wench kind of dance.
Yeah,
and
they weren't very good, but
and they did.
But they're entertaining.
Yeah, I thought it was.
And
it
the
was
knife
all very
dance
well
was
worth
cool,
it.
or sword dance.
Yeah,
cool.
they did sword dances and stuff. Again, I thought it was going to be like cheeseball touristy, but I found it to be just traditional enough. It felt traditional enough that I don't know, there was an authenticity there.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
And the food was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. But I didn't, because I've never been to like a medieval dinner, not even the one here in LA.
Yeah. Medieval times.
Yeah, because it just looks so cheesy. But so I was
people do it
when
for
you
fun.
wanted. I know, but when you wanted to go to that, I was kind of like, oh god, I'm to see dudes jousting
to
and
be
shit.
totally honest with you, I was more into the kind of open bar beer thing.
I know. But
and the overall
but it was
price,
actually really cool.
Yeah, the overall price was really good for what you got, and to me it was one of the better values.
The only thing I didn't understand was we had to do this meeting point, which was halfway across.
That was super weird.
From the restaurant, and we had to walk through Prague to get there. It was like so dumb.
I don't understand what they were doing.
I don't know either.
So basically, we had to meet in front of the Charles Bridge, which is the famous bridge, and then we had to walk all the way across
to Old Town,
over to Old Town,
which
is probably a 30-minute walk. All the way over to their restaurant. We could have met,
and it's hot
at
as balls here.
Yeah, we could have met at Powdergate, which is
met at
right
the restaurant.
there. Yeah,
that I didn't understand. Weird. We could have met at the restaurant.
Yeah, I think another thing I want to talk briefly about is some of the shopping in Prague specifically. Oh, yeah. I found this marionette shop that had amazing Czech hand created marionette puppets.
Oh, very cool.
And it's a big tradition here. And I'm excited because we're going to see Don Giovanni. When is that? That's tonight, right?
Yeah, it's for our last night.
Yeah. We're going to see Don Giovanni done with marionette puppets. And I'm super excited about that. But this particular store, they had everything from, 4-foot tall, $500 hand carved marionette puppets down to ones that were like $10 that were more mass produced, but they all had this crafted feeling to
really
them.
Nice.
Of course I had to get one for me. I got a Jack Sparrow, and it's super cool. I'll share
really
a
cool.
picture of him just really, really neat. And the work was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, what did you like? Like, what's some of the stuff you've liked here?
Like the shopping?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a big shopper. But
God. Just kidding.
I'm not a big shopper. But some of the I liked when we went to that area where it was like a marketplace, but the little one, the vendors.
Uh-huh.
I like to see. I think it's really cool when you see the handmade stuff.
Yeah.
You know, where the artistry of like the jewelry and the paintings, and even though it's not your like maybe not your style, like I didn't really buy anything. I bought a couple pieces of jewelry, but
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Just seeing that handmade stuff is really nice.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is passed down tradition too. So it feels slightly more crafted than your average kind of craft stuff you see in the U.S. Like I feel like there's a grand tradition there. And again, you know, the Czech Republic has so much history, and you know, Prague in general. We went to we've gone twice to this bar because we like it so much, called the Museum of Beer.
The Beer Museum.
Beer Museum, right? And there's a particular type of amber beer that I really liked there. That the original recipe was from the 1400s, and it's been passed on, and they've kept the way they make that beer is still the way they made it back then.
Do you remember what it was called?
It was like Demon. And I swear, I did see, I read them on, and I'm like, oh, Demon, that's cool. But I was looking for an amber, and then I read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like the kind of beer I like. So I tried it, and I loved it. But again, I haven't had a bad beer. Even the light beer here is amazing. Has a lot of flavor.
The wine's good too.
Full-bodied and dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. So now that it's our last day, what would you say is your highlight of this European trip?
When we went to the opera.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool.
That was really
We went to go see Carmen in this really amazing, it's small, but really pretty opera house.
It's a Czech, isn't it, like the Czech National Opera House or something like that?
So.
Like, it's been around forever.
Yeah. That was definitely my highlight. It was because it was really good, and it was fun just to dress up and go out.
Yeah.
So that was my highlight. What about you?
Yeah, Carmen's up there for sure. I think the Bone Church was amazing.
Yeah.
And the whole trip to Kutna, Hora was really great. As far as Berlin goes, the wall was very heavy for me, and the Checkpoint Charlie Wall Museum. The things a city can go through and a country can go through, you know, the ups and downs of it, and you know, the really bad stuff. And when you go to Berlin now, it feels like a San Francisco. Like, it feels very progressive.
Yeah.
A lot of young people, very hip, you know. And again, I think the way they leave the Soviet art up, it's like you're not running from your history. You're kind of going, this happened. This is what, you know. Yeah. So, and I think the whole 2 weeks have been amazing.
Yeah. For me in Berlin, definitely the Wall Museum and the sausages. The are so good. And the mustard. Mustard.
The German mustard is amazing. God, it's so good. It's really creamy and flavorful. Yeah. It's almost like a mustard with a mayonnaise consistency. And then it doesn't have like that weird, you know, has to be super yellow thing, you know. But it tastes amazing. And so sausages, good. I could eat them every day. Like,
oh my God, they were so good.
They were so good. And the Czech food has been really, really great. And the Czech people are super sweet.
Very nice.
I think the only bad thing is that we planned our trip right in the middle of Europe's biggest heat wave. So that's been particularly tricky.
It's been challenging.
If you hear like a slight buzz in the air while we're recording. We have a fan on because in Prague they don't have air conditioning, or they have air conditioning, but it's not that strong.
Doesn't really work
because they're not used to heat. This is really this is really different for them. So that's the only thing that's been
challenging.
A little bit challenging. We're vampires, so we're not used to all this sun and heat.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, it's been
awesome. I'm sad
great.
It's coming to a close. This being our last day, but
yeah,
it's been a really amazing trip.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot too, babe. Okay, so one of the things we did before we went on this trip is we ran out and we saw MIDSOMMAR, which I think is the perfect feature review for this episode, because there's themes in there I think that will go hand in hand with this whole episode. So I guess we could start just curating our favorites, and then we'll jump right into our feature review of MIDSOMMAR, and we'll do the same thing. We'll have our review portion, and then we'll have a spoiler zone where we talk more in depth. So before we get started, I want to say we're going to try to do more current movies, and we're not going to get into like Giallo and all, we're going to, because I want to save an episode and just have that on its own thing. So I want to bring up like more current films that maybe people have not seen, that are kind of on the newer side, that are either European produced or they take place in Europe, and that's kind of the theme. So that's kind of the idea. So do you have your first one?
Yeah, so the first one is Nina Forever.
I love this movie.
Which is 2015.
UK.
Yeah, it's a British independent film. And basically it's about after this guy's girlfriend dies in an accident. They have a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
He starts to date, he starts a new relationship.
Right. It's like a year later.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like immediately, like,
yeah.
He pretty much burned his whole world down. Like
yeah, because he was really in love.
So he was on track to have this really big career, and he just completely loses everything when she dies, because they were his soulmate and everything. And he works at this store.
Yeah.
And his coworker, gives him the googly eyes, and
she's into him.
Yeah, so they start a relationship, and when they, I laugh because
that's great.
When they're in his apartment, they start to fool around, and Nina appears, but it's so gross. So
I think it's kind of the way she appears is so unique.
Yeah, so she like comes out of the mattress, but like first it gets bloody, and she's all kind of slimy.
Yeah.
And she can't move very well because she's dead. She's a corpse.
Yeah, right. It's like her corpse appears naked in the middle of their bed between them.
Yeah.
As if in the condition it was in when she was originally run over.
Yeah.
So it is. I loved this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, I mean, it's like every woman. I always tease Enzo that if I were to die, I would haunt him when he was with a girl. So this is like totally my.
Oh man,
my movie.
It's so great because it walks this really cool line between like horror and humor, and it's erotic as well. Like it's such an interesting film.
It has a good little twist too to it.
Yeah, and then what Nina kind of her dialogue, like what she says to the couple, and to her fiance, and to the girl.
Yeah.
It's her dialogue is so great.
Yeah,
and
it's funny.
She's really unique. Like visually, she's really unique. And oh man, I really loved this movie, and I hope people can find it. And I think we saw it on Prime. Look for it. It's so great. It's called Nina Forever.
And it's not like horror. It's creepy.
Oh, it's just
really
deliciously creepy.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
So I definitely would recommend this, especially for all you chicas that like that little revenge story.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
But
that's
it's
a great
it's
first
it's a
start.
good,
I love
it's a
that
good
movie.
What's yours?
And again, I think
sorry.
people, I think it's the kind of movie that, not everyone knows that it's out. And yeah, that's a great
Yeah, how did you
first
find that one?
choice. I think I saw a trailer for it. You know me, I'm always looking. And that's 2015, so it's very, very current. Look for it. It's great. It's called Nina Forever.
And it is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and that's UK produced.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is a movie called Sleep Tight. And it's a Spanish film. And it's from 2011. And it's about this superintendent that lives in an apartment building. And he's obsessed with this young woman that lives there.
So creepy.
And it's so bizarre because you can tell he has romantic feelings for her, but it's gone to a really dark place. So now he sort of wants to destroy her. And in the daytime, he treats her really, really nice. He's very sweet to her, But then at night, he drugs her and he goes into her apartment and he does all these things to kind of ruin her. Like he puts like
He's just a miserable dude. Like he just wants to make everyone miserable.
Yeah, it's like a really, really dark stalker film.
Yeah.
I found it really disturbing and really creepy and scary at times, and very psychological, leaning on the thriller side, really elegant as well. I highly recommend this movie too. Like, it's called Sleep Tight. I think we saw it on Shudder originally.
Yeah, but it is on Amazon.
But you can find it everywhere, yeah.
And the guy is really creepy who plays him.
Super
and
creepy.
He really messes with her, and then her boyfriend shows up, and so he messes with him too. And
Yeah, he messes with everyone.
Yeah.
It's like this really dark. He's got this really dark, creepy, controlling kind of mind. It's. I found it really disturbing, but really, really good. Like, it's a really great horror film.
yeah,
Okay, do you have your next one?
I do, and it's not that current. It's 2007, but it's Hostel 2
Oh,
or Part 2, Hostel Part 2. And I love it because, it has, and I'm not a big torture horror fan.
yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. No one is
Well,
torture stuff.
I know
No, I'm not.
you like brutal stuff. But
Yeah, that's different. But the torture horror stuff is not my
Yeah, the
thing.
torture porn.
But I love this one because it has an awesome twist. And I don't want to give it away in case you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it's about college girls that go on a trip abroad. And of course, they get lured by this woman that promises them like a really cool adventure and partying and all this stuff and, boys and all that junk.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all to lure them hostile style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it has all the horrible torture scenes in it as well. So there's plenty of that.
Yeah.
But then it has a really cool twist at the end.
It's interesting because I feel like Hostel 2 has a lot to say too. Like there's a lot going on, like with some of the people that are involved in that whole hostel thing and kind of their back
business.
Right, like their back histories and what led them to that. And then of course the twist ending and yeah, it's a really good follow-up. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and it's set in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a cool one. I like that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Again, I think it took us a while to see this one.
It did because I'm not.
Because again, we're not.
Yeah, not into the torture stuff.
But when we finally saw it, we're like, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, yeah, and it is pretty intense.
That's Eli Roth.
Yeah, it is pretty
So
intense. Yeah,
so you can't go wrong.
Yeah, he always brings the teeth.
Yeah, fan of horror. Cool. So what's your next one?
So my next choice is a movie that we saw this year. It's on Prime. It's called Housewife.
Yeah, it's trippy.
And it's a Turkish film. And when we started watching it, I wasn't quite sure what ethnicity it was because they basically look like Europeans and they were speaking English, but they were speaking it in a way where you could tell it wasn't their first language. So at first I wasn't really feeling the film because it felt a little awkward. Because again, you could tell these actors, it was their second language. English is not their first language.
Yeah.
So the dialogue was a little clumsy, but the story is very, very cool and interesting. And it spirals into an absolute nightmare of a film.
Yeah, that's pretty horrific.
Like, it is dark. So basically, it's about this woman who's a housewife, and she's married to an artist. She's a young woman, maybe in her early 30s. And she loses touch with one of her really close friends. All of a sudden, that close friend kind of comes back.
Comes to visit.
Yeah, comes to visit, and they're like, "Whoa, we haven't heard from you in a year." And it turns out she's joined this kind of self-help group, but really it's a cult.
Yeah, and it's called Umbrella of Love and Mind.
Yeah, so it's sort of like Scientology-ish.
Yeah, very Scientology.
Yeah, and there's this main guru character, and he's really intense looking and really unusual looking too. He's Asian, but he has kind of a mix of the look, very unique sort of look, a super intense guy. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah,
because this movie, once they decide to go with her to one of the seminars, this movie just like spirals into a nightmare. It's sort of Jacob's Ladder-y. You start to lose the narrative. It starts to swirl into this, bizarre,
gets really trippy. Yeah.
super trippy, very nightmarish towards the end. Ritualistic and Hellraiser-ish, and even a little bit of Lovecraft, like a Lovecraftian sort of thing. Oh, highly, highly, highly recommend Housewife. Again, it's Turkish produced. If you can get past the weird use of English, I'm telling you.
That didn't bother me so much.
At first, it felt like bad acting. It was kind of odd, like clumsy.
I can see that.
But then, if you can just get past that part, it turns into a complete nightmare of a film.
Yeah.
Like, I really like this film. It really got under my skin. It is a creepy, creepy film and very unique as well. So look for that one.
Yeah, really good.
Housewife, that's 2017. I think we saw it on Prime.
It's on Prime.
Yeah. So look for that one. That one's great. Okay, what's your next choice?
So my next choice is 2014 Good Night Mommy.
Yeah.
It's German. And it's about these two twin boys that move with their mom into a new home, kind of an isolated area. After she has some changing cosmetic surgery. But we're not sure what's under the bandages type of thing. Or if it's her under the bandages.
Yeah, dude.
And so it gets really creepy.
Okay. So every so often there'll be a horror movie that comes along that has a brain and it has nuance and the setup is great. Like, this is a really elegant horror film.
Yeah.
The two boys, they have kind of a creepy kid vibe.
Well, you're not sure who's the villain.
Yeah.
Because they imply that it might not be their mom, but so they start plotting against her, but then you're not really sure because it might be her.
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, and it's got so many layers to it. It's really elegant too.
Yeah.
Like I think she's famous. She's a famous person.
Yeah, I think so. Like,
and she has a beautiful house, like near a forest, really modern and really, really nice.
On the countryside. In the countryside, I mean.
Yeah, and it's very it has that classic German kind of serious coldness to it.
Yeah.
This is a great horror film.
It's a great
horror film.
Because it's one of those cat and mouse type of things.
Yeah, it's
that
great.
You're not sure.
It's fantastic.
Who's the real villain or culprit or what's going on.
Yep.
And it has the creepy kid factor.
It's fantastic.
And the pacing's really good.
It's really visual too.
Yeah.
It's really well shot, like a great independent film. I gotta watch that again. That was great.
And it's saying that it's on Prime Video, so make sure you try to check out again. It's Good Night Mommy.
German film.
So what's your next pick?
So my next pick, since you picked a German film, I'm gonna see your German film and give you a German film back. It is the film Hagazusa, A Heathen's Curse. It's 2017, and it was recently put on. I think it was Prime or Shudder, and we just saw it a few weeks ago. It's basically about a woman who lives with her mother, and this is in rural, very, very rural Germany during like the Black Plague era. And so she lives a pretty difficult life, surviving with her mother.
Austrian Alps.
Okay. Yeah. And the movie's really beautiful. It sort of reminded me of The Witch, like a German version of The Witch. But it is really weird and nightmarish. There's a witch element to it. It's kind of these two women live by themselves, their mother and daughter, and I think people think they're witches.
Yeah.
And you're kind of dealing with that. You're seeing that in the story, and you're trying to figure out if they are. The movie. One of the reasons I really liked the movie is it's sort of like a abstract painting. Like it starts to break down in narrative, and it becomes purely visual and sort of nightmarish. I thought it was really elegant. There isn't a lot of dialogue in the film.
There isn't.
Like the scariest stuff that happens is kind of just visual.
It's like uncomfortable moments. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of puts you in a trance. Like I felt like that from the film.
So the mom dies, and the woman, the daughter becomes a woman and has her own baby.
Yeah.
But she can still hear her mother's voice.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's trippy. It kind of fell apart at the end a little bit.
Okay.
It just got kind of like whatever. I don't know.
I could totally see how this film wouldn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it I think that's the parts I like in the film, like when it really starts to get when you start to get disoriented by the film, like, and then there's a great scene with a goat. Do you remember the scene with her and the goat?
It's weird.
It was just really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. I highly recommend if you like art films that are nightmarish. I
don't care if it's good or not.
You don't mind when narrative kind of drifts away. I recommend that.
It was interesting. It was interesting, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's why I wanted to mention it. It's Hagazusa, A Heathen's Curse, 2017, and that's a German film.
And I think we did see it on Shudder.
Yeah, I think it was either Shudder or Prime.
Yeah.
But I think it was Shudder. So I think we should only do 6 for this one.
That sounds good.
Because
we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about. We have a lot to cover, and I really, really want to get into Midsommar. So I guess we can move on to that.
And now, our feature review.
Okay, Reyna, it's time for our feature review, and it's of the film Midsommar.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so looking forward to talking about this movie, and then the European trip came up, and I'm like, we're gonna how are we gonna squeeze this in?
Yeah.
And it's kind of perfect for this episode. So, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure.
Just so people know what it is.
Sure. So Midsommar is obviously 2019. It's a couple travels to Sweden to visit a rural hometown fabled Midsummer Festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me just give you guys a little bit of history here. So, my parent company that I work for. I work for Electronic Arts, but my parent company is Dice, and it's a Swedish company. So half of my coworkers are Swedish.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to see how they do this film, because to be quite honest with you, every Swedish person I've ever met and I've worked with, I've grown to love. Like, they're some of the nicest people, humble, smart. They're just great people. And I wanted to see how they were going to make them the thing of horror. And I think the film pulls it off. And I can't wait, to talk to some of my coworkers and kind of get their take on what they think of it. Because I know, yeah, there's aspects, of course, of their traditions that are in there.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of perversion of that, But what did you think of the film?
I mean, for me, I didn't love it. I didn't love it like you loved it.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was good, and it had some really good make it stop moments.
Yeah.
And it was creepy.
Yeah.
The pacing for me was off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just didn't
It's interesting
do it for me all the way through.
It's interesting because what's his name? Ari Aster? Mm-hmm. So he did Hereditary, and that's another movie that Reyna and I are very split on. I agree with her about that movie having pacing issues. I feel like there's a bit of self-editing that needs to happen.
Yeah. Felt really long.
This movie has the same sort of problem. I think it could have trimmed a bit of the fat, but I thoroughly enjoyed how deliciously creepy this movie is.
That's a strong.
Yeah, I'm
not
sorry.
Deliciously creepy.
It's my opinion. Again, I've been watching horror movies since I was a little boy, so there's so much stuff that's so common, like the stuff you always see, and this movie breaks so much of that convention. It's mostly in the daytime. It's super sunny. It's beautiful out there in the countryside where they go in Sweden. The ritual seems really festive, but then they take these really dark turns. So just for the uniqueness of the film and the tone that it sets, and then it really plays with xenophobia, which right now we're in a different country, so there's little bits of that in everything you do. The first night we were here in Prague, we went to have dinner, and you ordered pork, mm-hmm. and they asked you, "Oh, how do you want that cooked?" Because they serve it medium rare here.
Yeah.
Which we're not used to. So we sort of looked at each other, and I sort of wanted to try it, and you seemed to as well. So you ordered it medium rare. But the entire the medium, the entire time we were thinking, oh God, I hope we're not going to get sick for the rest of the trip, because that was our first night.
Yeah.
So, but we had to kind of trust, There's a lot of that in this movie.
That's true.
Where these young people go to this,
that is very true.
This place, and their friend is sharing his culture, and so they have to kind of grin and bear it. But yeah, I love the setup. The setup is fantastic.
No, it definitely had its good moments,
Mm-hmm.
and it did have a good setup, because for me, the horror movies I enjoy the most are things that I feel like could really happen.
Oh yeah.
And this could totally happen.
Happen.
You're trusting someone that's of the culture, and you're gonna go with it, like, because you're not sure of the traditions. You don't want to be disrespectful.
You don't want to be disrespectful.
You want to learn, like, it's interesting, so you want to learn.
Yeah.
And and then all hell breaks loose. It was just really long, and for me, there was a lot that could have been cut out, like you said, edited, self-editing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of for me, it just kind of slowly started to fall apart and get less creepy.
It's interesting because for me, I've kind of felt the opposite. I felt like the setup time to get, the young people from the U.S. to Sweden, and the setup for all that was a little long-winded. I think the story was really interesting. The young girl, who's the actress that plays the young girl?
So the actress's name is Florence Pugh. She plays Danny.
Okay. And it's interesting because I recognized her. She normally has black hair. And we saw a movie on Netflix that she was in called Malevolent. And she plays kind of like this young psychic in the movie.
You have a good memory.
Yeah. And I just recognized her face. I was like, the blonde thing is different, but I recognized her face. I thought she was really great. She carried the movie really well. I think the story between her and her boyfriend is a very relatable story, you know?
Yeah.
So I felt like there was a really good emotional center to, you know, the people you're following into this nightmare. For me, the setup was a little long, but once that first ritual happens, I enjoyed every single second of the film. I thought it was really creepy in a very unique way. It could have been the fat could have been trimmed here and there, but not necessarily. I wouldn't remove scenes. I would shorten them. Like certain scenes needed to be a little shorter, but I'm telling you, I know you're not a fan, but this guy, he has some really solid ideas that he's bringing to horror.
He needs help.
He needs a bit of help with the self-editing, but I'm really looking forward to his next films.
You might have to drag me kicking and screaming.
Okay, so I guess we can wrap up the review portion. So for me, it's a big recommend. I really loved it. It's an instant buy for me. I'm definitely gonna want to see that again because I really enjoyed the film. What about you? Would you recommend going?
I would recommend seeing it when it comes out on Prime or something. I wouldn't rush out to the theater to see it.
Okay.
I didn't hate it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't like Hereditary at all. This one was better. But I didn't think it held up for me. So. Okay.
So what would you say? Just wait for
Like I said, wait for video.
Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, I think we need to talk a little more in depth about the film, and let's go into the spoiler zone. Hit it.
Beware. Spoilers ahead.
Okay.
This is all you.
So, all right. I just want to talk a little bit about the different aspects of the film that I really liked. And again, you're in the spoiler zone, so you've seen the film, and I just want to curl my toes a little bit about this film. So for me, the big thing that really struck a chord was horror in the daytime. Like the fact that most of the film is during the day. There's flowers everywhere. The rituals are not shrouded in shadow. It's such a bold thing to try. And I feel like the first ritual scenes with the elderly couple when they commit suicide.
Yeah. That was pretty gross.
That was great. And he does this thing where he augments the breath of the main character, and it's almost anxiety inducing. And I can't think of a film that's done it particularly that way. And I remember when that scene was starting to happen, you needed to go to the bathroom. And I said, go quickly because something's going to happen. Because the sense of dread in that scene, the beginnings of that scene, was palpable. And for this guy, I mean, this is only his second film. And he's bringing that sense of dread with so much confidence. Like he's got something. He's definitely got something. And I really enjoyed how he crafted those scenes. Every Swedish person in the film, like, they're just mildly creepy. Like there's an elegance there. And I felt like the entire film had kind of a Kubrick vibe to it as well. People spoke slowly. Scenes kind of simmered. Again, it could have been edited a little bit more, but it sort of puts you in a trance. And I really liked that about the film.
I think we're at two different movies.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the film?
I like the suicide. I thought that was cool. I like what they did to the couple.
Mm-hmm.
The couple that the dude disappears and then she disappears, and how they...
Yeah, that would have been us. That would have totally been us. Because, okay, so the
No
scene...
way, because there's no way I would ever believe you would leave me behind like that.
No. What I'm saying, we would be the ones that were like, we're out of here.
Oh, yeah.
The other people were rationalizing for their thesis. They were rationalizing, sitting through... But the reality is, they were all brought there to be sacrificed.
Right.
And that's great, too. The sense of dread. I remember thinking throughout the film, like, once the couple, when the guy leaves early, I'm like, oh, wow. They're not going to let anyone get out of here. Mm-mm. And the only way the main character will survive is if she submits to the cult. So, yeah, like the sense of dread was so there. And then the mating scene was
weird.
Really weird. Yeah, great. Like
really
great weird. Like it was funny too, and the audience was laughing, and I think it was meant to be sort of perversely funny.
I guess.
There is no other scene I can compare that to. Like that is a really, really unique moment in the film. And yeah, I think it was really interesting.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Now, I do agree with you, and we went with a couple of other friends of ours, and they said, oh, well, it's not going to keep me awake. Where, for me, Hereditary kept me awake.
I don't understand that at all.
But what I loved about Midsommar is that it was just deliciously creepy. Like, it just simmered.
Throw that around too loosely.
Oh, my God, it simmered in creepiness. To me, it's horror caviar. TM, the date night horror show. Like, it's one of those movies, and I think Housewife is like this too. It spirals into this nightmarish, creepy, and I just, when that is done well, it's awesome. How did you feel about the whole thing? Like the setup, the fact that the girl has her parents commit suicide with her sister and all that. Like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, like I said, I didn't think the setup for all of that was too long. I thought that was good because it showed that she really didn't have anything to lose because she lost her whole family. Yeah. And her relationship with this dude was kind of on the rocks anyway. Yeah.
He was already disinterested.
Yeah, he was already ready to... It was a pity invite for him to ask her to come with him. Yep. I agree that it was interesting that it was during the day. Yeah. I could relate with it because, like I said, when you travel and you go to different countries, like you want to be respectful and you want to, participate and you want to learn as much as you can. So I could totally see tourists falling into that, or
you end up in a vulnerable position.
Are interested in writing their thesis about that. Like, of course. Yeah. I thought there were some really great creepy moments, like when the couple committed suicide. I like the way they found the bodies of that couple that left. That was really creepy. Yeah. And kind of paganistic. And then also the corpses, just the different bodies and how it's kind of like the bone church, like how they arranged them and stuff like that. Yeah. I thought that was all really good. I mean, there were good moments. It just, as a whole, it didn't scare me enough.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I know what you're saying. Like, I felt like it really simmered in creepy, but it didn't quite scare.
It just never got there for me.
Yeah, it didn't quite scare.
Which is what I look for in a horror movie.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I sort of liked that about the film. Like, it didn't do any jump scare type stuff. It didn't have any chase sequences. It didn't have any, you know what I mean? Like, it just simmered in its creepiness. But I think all the ideas were there. By it
either. And that's all for me. That's very disappointing because that's the things I look for in a horror movie when I go see it. That's why I like horror movies, because I like to feel creeped out. I like to feel scared.
What do you think? Why do you think you weren't creeped out? Like for example, the final scene where they burn everyone. That didn't creep you out at all?
I mean, I think I was kind of over it by then, maybe.
That creeped me.
I mean, I'm willing to watch it again, like I did Hereditary, and see if I have a different opinion when it comes out.
What would you say? What would you say was your creepiest moment with the film?
Probably when the man didn't die when he jumped, and they started bashing his head in.
Oh God, that was terrible.
His face in.
That was terrible.
I was like, all right, here we go. This is going to be amazing. And then that was, for me, that was probably the scariest moment. And that was at the top of the film.
Yeah, that was pretty disturbing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, we don't have to entirely agree.
No. And you should go watch it.
I
definitely go watch it.
Yeah.
You're in the spoiler zone, so I'm assuming you have.
Yeah, right,
but
exactly.
You should definitely let us know what you thought, what you liked, what you thought your creepiest moments were for you, and
it's
who you agree with. Me.
What I think is really interesting is that you're starting to get films like this in the theater, and God, there's so many horror movies coming out.
There are, which is pretty amazing.
And these are challenging horror films, like and that I think is very that is so refreshing. To see, like us, you read the reviews for us, like user reviews.
Yeah.
Super polarizing. Some people love it like we did.
Yeah.
And some people don't like it at all. So it is what it is.
I think people didn't know what they were gonna go see or something. That's how I feel with us.
Yeah, maybe they were
expecting something else, so you automatically just don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think they were expecting like something like The Purge, and they didn't expect something that was so artistic, and it had the layers to it.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy that interesting, different horror films that are where these young directors are coming in, and they're taking horror very seriously. Like they're putting a lot of effort into the work.
Yeah.
I was watching this thing. The Ari Aster was talking about this film. And he was saying that he wanted to make Midsommar. It's about a breakup. It's a breakup movie. So it has the skeletons of like a romantic comedy breakup movie, right? So it's like she's with the wrong guy, and the right guy is right under her nose. But then he slaps a horror movie in between that. So the skeletons of a rom-com is in this movie, which to me it's absolutely brilliant. Like it's so outside the box, outside the standard.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm giving it too many extra points for that. But again, I really enjoyed it.
No, it's good.
I really enjoyed it. Maybe you're right. Maybe it needed a couple more visceral moments to really rattle you a little more, because it does kind of drones into an end. In a weird sort of way. So yeah, I can see your point as well. Cool. So we have tomorrow we get on our plane and we head back to the US. Hopefully I can edit this episode in time so we can get it out, because I know we're a little behind because of this trip. But yeah, so
it's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super fun.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Scare you later.
The Date Night Horror Show is written and produced by Enzo and Reyna. All music written and produced by Enzo. Find Enzo and Reyna online at thedatennighthorrorshow.com. Love the show? Then share it with your horror-loving friends and help spread the word.